today's helpful hint, we're going to talk about Garcia Spurs. You would not believe the amount of people who come to me and say, hey, you got any Garcia Spurs? Or they might say, hey, I have a pair of Garcia Spurs. What do you think they're worth? Some people think any Spur with Garcia marked on it is valuable. And you know what? It might be, if it's by the right Garcia. The Garcia that you really want to look for would be G.S. Garcia. He was in business from about the late 1800s through the early 1920s. So G.S. Garcia Spurs are going to be marked G.S. Garcia, Elko, Nevada. After G.S. retired, his boys took over the business, and it was then called Garcia Saddlery. From the mid-1920s all the way up into the 1960s, we see Garcia Saddlery. Sometime in the 1930s, they moved the business from Elko, Nevada to Salinas, California, so you'll often see the G.S. Garcia or the Garcia Saddlery marked Salinas, California. One of the brothers, Les Garcia, in 1957 started his own business, and they are called Les Garcia Spurs, and he was in Reno, Nevada. So Garcia Manufacturing, Reno, Nevada, or sometimes just Les Garcia, Reno, Nevada, or a different combination of those would be made by Les Garcia, and he's a little bit less collectible than his father was, but still, you know, a nice collectible pair of Spurs. After that, we have E. Garcia, or Eduardo Garcia, who came on the scene in the 1980s. Now, Eduardo Garcia imported his Spurs from Old Mexico with his E. Garcia mark on them. So, you'll see a lot of E. Garcia Spurs out there, and they should not be confused with the GS or the Les Garcia Spurs, because he wasn't even related to him, and he was much later on in the time frame. One thing that you need to be careful about when you're looking for high-end Garcia Spurs is fakes. There's a lot of Spurs that have fake hallmarks because the GS Garcia Spurs are worth so much more. A lot of times you'll see, I saw just the other day a pair of E. Garcia Spurs that somebody added Elko, Nevada to. Well, E. Garcia never made Spurs in Elko, Nevada. They were just trying to trick somebody with a fake hallmark. So be careful about that. Remember, always buy from a reputable dealer who will stand behind what they sell and knows what they're talking about. And if you're collecting Garcia Spurs, be sure and look for the original GS Garcias. And that's today's helpful hint from Western Trading Post.